Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Thanks for watching. This is just a quick overview of Premiere Pro, so if you're brand new to Premiere, keep watching. Okay, so this is the opening screen to Premiere. You can either open a project or create a new project. So let's just create a new project. We'll call it YouTube and we'll just save it there. Okay, so this is going to be the view when you first open a new project within Premiere. You have tabs along here, and basically all this does is changes the layout of the windows you see here. So it might open some new windows, but all the windows are here that you can open. You can rearrange this any way you like, so each one of these I've rearranged. But basically you have your program monitor up here, so any footage that's in your timeline you will view up here. Your timeline is here, your project window is here, and any footage you've imported will show up here. So let's just import some footage. So we'll just select a few random clips, import those. They'll show up here in list view. You can change that to icon view and scrub through your footage. You can also select in and out points here. That's just I for in on your keyboard and O on your keyboard for out. And that just allows you to select portions of your footage. In order to create a sequence, you can either just drag footage onto your timeline, and that'll create a sequence with the attributes of your footage. Or you can right click on footage and select new sequence from clip. Or you can do what I usually do, and you right click within the project panel, go to new item and sequence. Or you can go down here to the new item icon and go to sequence. And then you have a lot of different options for sequences. So let's just create sequence 1. In the timeline area here, then you'll see that tabbed along here are the two sequences we created. I can close one down and just keep one open. So in your timeline, this is your playhead. So any footage under this playhead you'll see in your program monitor. You have a few options up here on the top of your timeline. One is to snap, one is to link selection. So we'll just bring in some footage and I'll show you how those work. So here's two clips on the timeline. Snap, we'll zoom in a wee bit here. In order to zoom in, just press plus on your keyboard, minus then to go back out. Okay, so if I'm moving footage and I bring it very close to the next one, it's going to snap into place, and that's really handy for moving things about. Now you might not always want that to happen, so you can deselect snap, and as I go close it doesn't snap at all. So just be aware of that, play about with it, it is very handy. The next option is linked selection. So at the minute it's not selected. If I just click on the footage here and move it, it's just moving by itself, and you can see that it's showing me that it's now out of sync with the audio. So if we move it back, I'm going to put snap back on. So if we move it back and click link selected, it's now linked to the audio. So as we move the footage, it moves the audio with it. So again, sometimes you'll want that on, sometimes you'll not. So along here you've got all the tools. The first one here is your selection tool, and that's the default tool. That's just V on the keyboard, and that just allows you to select different parts of your timeline. You've got track select forward, you've got ripple edit, you've got razor tool, which is C on the keyboard, and that's very handy. That allows you to cut your footage up. When link selection is on, it will cut both your audio and your footage together. If it's off and you go to C and cut, it'll just cut your footage or just cut your audio. If you want everything along a particular point cut, you just select shift and see that white line. That's just where everything will be cut. There's a number of different tools like text, hand tool, pen tool. These all do particular things. You could do a tutorial on each one. But just so you know, that's where your tools are, and do learn the shortcuts for them. So when you've organized your footage on the timeline the way you want, then you want to start editing. I start off by editing the audio, and in order to find the effects for the audio, you go into effects here. If it's not shown here, you can go to window and effects and it'll show up. You can also go into the audio tab and that'll just show you a different layout. But here are all the different effects. You have the video effects, transitions, audio effects, transitions. And if I want to apply an effect to my audio, I can have it selected and either just drag it onto it, or I can just double click as long as the audio is selected on the timeline. So you'll notice it popped up here, and this is the effects controls. And again, if it's not shown, you can just go to Windows and Effects Controls. This is where all your effects will show, and it allows you to manipulate those effects. So anything that you add here will be shown in your effects controls, and you can keyframe anything you want by clicking the stopwatch, and again, that's another tutorial. But that is where all your effects will show up. For your footage, you'll have default effects like position, scale, rotation. They'll all be there already. And again, you can add other effects. So play around with those. There's a lot of different effects and there's a lot of different ways you can use them. But just to know, you get your effects in the effects panel down below, and then you manipulate those from the effects controls. After that, then I would edit my footage. So if you just select on footage over to the right here, then you can see Lumetri color. So you've got your basic correction, which allows you to manipulate your white balance, your exposure. You've got your creative panel, which allows you to manipulate vibrance and saturation and sharpening. Your curves, which are super useful. I use curves on every bit of footage, and I will do a separate tutorial on how I use curves. And then you've got color wheels and just a lot of different ways of manipulating and editing your footage. I do usually move my footage into another program to do editing. It's got all the same basic controls, but I find it a lot easier to do. For YouTube and smaller projects, I do edit just within Premiere. Okay, so once your footage is all edited, you'll then want to export that. So just make sure your sequence on your timeline is selected. Go to File, Export Media, and then this will bring up the export settings. So you want to tell it what you're exporting. So you can either choose an in or out, or you can choose the entire sequence. You then choose your settings. I usually go for H.264, but there's a lot of different options. You then choose the name and where it's going to go. And choose your video audio settings. I'll do another tutorial on my export settings for different projects. Then you can export directly from Premiere, or you can queue, and that'll bring it into Media Encoder to export, and that allows you then to just work away in Premiere on another project or the same project. Okay, so that's a very, very quick overview of Premiere. It's just to give you a general idea of the layout and the different things you can do in it. I'll do more specific in-depth tutorials on different things like curves and color grading within Premiere. But if there's anything in specific you want to see or learn about, let me know. And yeah, thanks for watching again. Please like and subscribe, it does make a huge difference. And I will see you tomorrow.